In the early hours of a quiet Monday morning, a discovery was made that would send shockwaves throughout KwaZulu-Natal and beyond. The body of Sipho Mkhize, a former leader of the African National Congress (ANC) Youth League in the province, was found dumped along the banks of the Amjinai River. The grim discovery has not only left his family devastated but has also ignited a firestorm of questions and concerns across the political landscape. Who was behind this heinous act? What led to his untimely death? And most importantly, will justice be served for this young leader whose life was tragically cut short? Mkhize's disappearance had been a source of anxiety for days. The 34-year-old was last seen attending a community meeting in the Inanda area, a gathering where local leaders and residents often discuss pressing issues affecting their neighborhoods. However, when he failed to return home that night, his family grew worried. Calls to his phone went unanswered, and as hours turned into days, the concern deepened. His family, desperate for answers, took to social media, pleading with the public for any information regarding his whereabouts. Flyers were distributed, and searches were conducted, but there was no sign of him. Then came Monday morning, when a passerby walking along the Amjinai River made the chilling discovery. A lifeless body, showing visible signs of trauma, lay near the riverbank. The authorities were called, and soon after, the confirmation came: it was Sipho Mkhize. The news spread like wildfire, with political figures, activists, and ordinary citizens reacting with shock and disbelief. How did he end up there? Who could have done this to him? And why? The police quickly launched an investigation, treating the case as a homicide. Colonel Thandika Matha, the police spokesperson, confirmed that Mkhize had likely been dead for several days before his body was found. The presence of trauma marks suggested a violent encounter, but the exact cause of death would only be determined after a post-mortem examination. Authorities urged the public to come forward with any information that could aid in their investigation. Every clue, every piece of evidence, and every testimony would be crucial in piecing together the events that led to Mkhize's tragic demise. To understand the full weight of this incident, one must recognize who Sipho Mkhize was and the role he played in his community. He was not just another political figure, he was a passionate activist, a voice for the youth, and a dedicated leader within the ANC Youth League. His commitment to addressing social issues such as unemployment, poverty, and service delivery made him a well-known figure, particularly in KwaZulu-Natal. He was fearless in his advocacy, often speaking out against government inefficiencies and fighting for the betterment of his people. For many, he represented hope, the kind of leader who genuinely wanted to make a difference. His work in recent months had focused on tackling the growing concerns of unemployment among young people. South Africa's youth unemployment rate remains one of the highest in the world, and Mkhize was at the forefront of efforts to push for more job opportunities and skills development programs. He had also been vocal about service delivery failures, pressing local authorities to improve infrastructure, water supply, and electricity provision in underserved areas. His activism had won him admiration from many, but could it have also made him a target? Political violence in South Africa is not a new phenomenon, but it remains a deeply troubling issue. Over the years, numerous activists, whistleblowers, and political figures have been attacked, threatened, or even killed for their outspokenness. KwaZulu-Natal, in particular, has been a hotspot for such violence. The Moorane Commission, which investigated political killings in the province, found that many of these murders stemmed from intra-party conflicts, corruption, and struggles for power. Could Mkhize's death be linked to political rivalry? Was he silenced because he was seen as a threat to someone's interests? These are some of the pressing questions that investigators must now seek to answer. The ANC, the party Mkhize had dedicated his life to, reacted with sorrow and outrage. Nomvula Dlamini, the ANC provincial secretary, described him as a fearless leader who stood for justice and fairness. She called for a thorough investigation and demanded that law enforcement agencies ensure those responsible are held accountable. This is not just a loss for his family, it is a loss for the entire movement. Sipho was a bright light in our struggle for a better future, and we will not rest until justice is served, she said. Beyond the ANC, political analysts and human rights groups have expressed concern over what Mkhize's murder signifies. The increasing violence against activists and political leaders is a worrying trend that threatens democracy itself. Dr. Lebo Masango, a political analyst, noted that South Africa must urgently address this crisis. When political killings become normalized, it creates a culture of fear that discourages people from engaging in activism or public service. We cannot allow that to happen, she said. She further emphasized that stronger protections must be put in place for activists and whistleblowers who speak out against corruption and injustice. Mkhize's family is left grappling with immense grief. Losing a loved one is always painful, but losing them in such a brutal and mysterious manner adds another layer of devastation. His family has requested privacy during this difficult time, while also appealing for anyone with information to step forward. They want answers. They want justice. And most of all, they want to ensure that Mkhize's legacy is not forgotten. A memorial service is expected to be held in his honor, with ANC leaders and community members paying tribute to his life and work. It will be a moment of mourning, but also a moment to reflect on the urgent need to address the threats facing activists in the country. Will Mkhize's death be a wake-up call that sparks real change? Or will it become yet another case that fades into history without justice being served? That remains to be seen. One thing is clear, this tragedy is not just about one man. It is about a much larger issue that South Africa must confront. Political violence, corruption, and the silencing of activists pose a grave danger to democracy and to the fundamental freedoms that people have fought for. As we follow this story, we must ask ourselves, what can be done to stop these killings? How do we protect those who dedicate their lives to making South Africa a better place? We want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on the tragic death of Sipho Mkhize? Do you believe enough is being done to protect political activists in South Africa? What should be done to address the ongoing violence against those who speak out? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more in-depth coverage of critical issues affecting our society. Your voice matters, and together, we can push for change. Mkhize's death is a stark reminder of the dangers faced by those who challenge the status quo. His legacy should not be one of fear, but of courage and determination in the fight for justice. The question now is whether authorities will act decisively or if this will be yet another unresolved case. The people of South Africa are watching, waiting, and demanding answers.